But if your nukes are like really, really close, then the amount of time that the missile take to like hit you, it's so short. So if Ukraine has missiles, they can hit Moscow in like 3 minutes. So you have no time to respond. They can theoretically nuke you, your cities, and all of your missiles. So you can't respond, and you're out of the picture. So that's why Ukraine is so important.
But let's say electricity prices were to quadruple in a day in a short squeeze, and then an internet company couldn't pay its electric bills, and then you had an internet down, and then like Russia cuts some undersea cable, and then you have no internet for a week for the whole world. People are so addicted. Look at us. We're talking on the internet right now. I mean, this is our communication. Communications would be down. It could really lead to some serious panic and riots all over the world if that happened. The connectivity. I mean, these are things that I could see actually happening now, and it's making me nervous. And for that reason, I recommend that everyone have enough food and energy in their homes for at least a few weeks, just to not have to go out and peek your head out and see what's going on. Maybe you want to stay at home. Hey guys, Rafi from the Young Investor, and today I am interviewing Ron Gabrielli, a friend of mine who's in Sweden, and he is moving soon to a different place, and wish him a safe journey in what is a very unstable world. Hopefully he can make it without running out of gas.
First, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And second is that the world is absolutely crazy. That's if I have to say it in like one sentence. And I totally think we are approaching the end game with huge steps.
Well, I just wanted to open with an observation a general observation that I have, but that I'm seeing more acutely now. I've been reading about this nickel squeeze, right? And the articles are like, this is purely a financial thing having to do with margin calls, and it doesn't have to do with anything in the physical market. This is a fallacy that Keynesians and econometricians and people who see finance as just like equations and math, totally disconnected from any human action. They want to separate the financial reality of the economy, the math that tallies who has what goods and services and who has, because finances, they represent potential goods and services, they represent savings that are real. When these things happen, when you have these margin calls and nickel goes, I don't know, what was it, like doubled in the space of a day or two, and people say, oh, this is just the structure of the financial system, has to be cleared out, and physical reality is fine, but that's not it. The financial reality reflects physical reality. And the thing is, the prices of all these goods are a lie, because the derivatives that set the price in the futures market are a lie, because they don't represent physical reality, whereas people are accounting them as if they do. So that means at some point, the whole thing snaps, and the price has to go back to what physical reality should be, which is somewhere way up there when all the shorts get covered by force. And then you have the mechanisms of the financial reality being forced to conform to physical reality. That's what's happening. But nobody wants to admit it until we run out of all this stuff.
I totally agree. This is exactly the problem. There is a disconnect between physics and reality, and what we are being told and what we believe. And this entire situation in Russia and the sanction and everything is it presents just that. So for example, I see like people saying Russia has a GDP less than Texas. And that's like tiny, they say, like it's like a Spain. But that's only with the commodity price at the current price. What if the real price of commodities is twice that of today? Or what if it's 10 times that of today? And that's the real power that they hold. It's just not represented in the numbers.
Yeah, and it works the other way around too. Like, what if America's economy is based on financialized crap, right? Mostly. So like, what if the true price of all these securities that America markets and all the derivatives that they market to the world and the dollar that they export to the world, what if the true value of all that stuff is 10 times lower than it is now, and the price of commodities that Russia markets is 10 times higher? I'm just making up numbers, but like, things could be a lot different in reality than they are on paper, and the paper is going to reflect that soon enough. And the other thought that I had was, I'm trying to go, like, go back to any generation, even a generation ago, or 2 generations ago, 3 generations ago, and I just have them peek in, just you know, the wise men of that generation, have them just peek in for a second as to how the world is behaving now, as to America is behaving, as to how Europe is behaving right now, and I just want to hear them comment, going on the past 2 years into now, how stupid can we possibly be? What would they even say about how world leaders are behaving these days? It's just insane. There's
I think you
no
have to go that
connection with
far. I think if
reality
you just,
anywhere.
I think if you get someone from 20 years ago and he went into a coma and he woke up today, I think he would be shocked. Would you imagine that we are like in a situation where people couldn't leave their homes for like, you know, in the past 2 years of everything that we have been going through? I mean, we are living in a totally different world. Just 20 years ago, it was totally different. But if you brought one of these smart people from, let's say, 5 generations ago, so let's say 100 years ago or something, I think they wouldn't, especially if you brought someone who has like they just wouldn't understand what's going on. Like things are fake. Like the finance things are fake. The prices are fake. The money is fake. Everything is fake. And I think that's why it was, for me at least, easy to spot that. I became very sensitive to see that all the media is trying to push a narrative. So, for example, with this Russia-Ukraine war, there is obviously a narrative from the very beginning, and that made me suspect that, you know, even that is not what we are being told. It's not. It's like things are fake. Everything is lies.
Personally, I have no idea what's going on. I'm not even going to pretend to know. I don't trust the Ukrainian side. I don't trust the Russian side. I don't want anything to do with it, but I have no choice because everything's tied up. But like my initial thought, and I guess you can reflect on this, is like, what is the point of NATO? What is the point of gathering all these countries under a nuclear umbrella to threaten? Why does it have to be America versus Russia? What is the point of all these sides? Why can't we just? It seems kind of stupid. Why can't we all just get along? Well, what is the point of all these like alliances? I don't understand.
Well, that is maybe above my pay grade to understand why they're doing that. I mean, I don't know. They're doing so many irrational things. Why are they Okay, why are they inflating? That is easier to understand why. I mean, they are earning from it. They are staying in power for it. So I guess it would be the same about this war. I mean, they give a reason for their existence. They give a reason for spending. And I guess there is all these kind of powers pulling the strings, you know, the military industrial complex pulling for one part, and maybe, you know, the weapons company, they want to have a conflict because they can sell more weapons. So I guess it maybe, if you don't look at it from conspiracy point of view, which I try not to, where, you know, everything is connected and there is this mastermind, then I guess it just fits with you know, with a lot of groups like weapon companies. It's good for them, and politicians stay in power and they can say, oh, we are so strong, you know, we are strong against Russia, we are like a strong leader. So I guess that's where it's coming from. That's what I would think. And if we get to this Russia situation, I think we should divide it into 2 things. One is that the misinformation about what is this war about, and then it doesn't matter what it's about. The end result is that commodity prices are going higher. There might be shortages, and this is where what we are talking about, where the physical reality meets, like you meet the wall, and all these fake and lies have to implode, like the lies in Afghanistan. There was lies for like, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years. They're trying to fix the place, and then in 1 week everything crumbles away, and you understand there is nothing. There is nothing. Everything has been one big lie. Yeah. The government is not really government. The military can't secure the place, and the Taliban takes over everything. So I think with the financial system, it will be the same. So if we just talk about this Russia, for example, so what the Russians are saying, and I tend to believe that's true, and because it's consistent. So when I saw all this news about Russia, I had a feeling that someone is pushing a narrative, because I've been trained in the last 2 years to sense that with the reality that we live in. And so I wanted to investigate. I didn't go to the Russia TV to understand what they're saying. I went and I searched for, you know, for the information. I found a professor from the United States. His name is John Marshmeyer, I'm not sure if I know the name exactly, and he explained that situation, and he predicted everything that is happening now. He predicted already, like, I don't know, 12 years ago. And he was also not the only one. So there was other people that predicting that this thing is going to happen. And what they're basically saying is that Russia sees NATO expansion into Ukraine as an existential threat to them. And whether that's true or not, that's how they see the situation. And they're going to respond to that. And they have been trying to make diplomatic talks over the past 20 years. But obviously, in the early 2000s, they were super weak and super poor. They just came out from the USSR. They were on the verge of like civil war. They were not strong to make any demand. So they said that, they were not good with the expansion, but they couldn't say anything. And then NATO expanded in 2008. He added like Estonia and I think Latvia and all these countries around there. And again, the Russians in 2008, they were not strong enough to make any line in the sand and say enough. And I guess Putin was building their economy, and he was, I guess, trying to, when you are in the rock bottom, and you need to go up. So obviously, such a big country with so many people and so many resources. So if you just don't fuck up everything, it will get better. And then in 2014, the NATO made it clear they want to add Ukraine and Georgia. Not Georgia, Georgia. So that's Georgia is the country.
Gruzium.
Yeah, south of Russia, there next to Turkey. So that immediately started the war between Russia and Georgia, because that was it. Like Russia wanted to make sure NATO is not expanding not to Georgia and not to Ukraine. And the reason for that is they don't want nuclear weapons to be placed there. And the reason that they don't want nuclear weapons to be placed there is that there is a concept, it's called mutual destruction theory. So if one side is like going to shoot nukes on you, you're like detecting it with your systems and you're going to shoot nukes on them, and you're both destroying each other. So you don't have, no one want to do that. Like you don't want to kill yourself. But if your nukes are like really, really close, then the amount of time that the missile take to like hit you, it's so short. So if Ukraine has missiles, they can hit Moscow in like 3 minutes. So you have no time to respond. They can theoretically nuke you, your cities, and all of your missiles. So you can't respond, and you're out of the picture. So that's why Ukraine is so important. And also in 2014, the Russia took Crimea. That was also in response to this NATO wanting to get Ukraine to join NATO. And also what they did, and again, look, they are not so like nice. They started the civil war there in the area that is called Donbass. That is an area that is on the southeast of Ukraine. So obviously most of that area is ethnically Russian, and those people want to be part of Russia. So obviously Russia is supplying them weapons and helping them to do this civil war. And the reason for that is because NATO has rules, and the rules say if a country has a dispute over its territory, it cannot join NATO. So then they gained their objective. Ukraine couldn't join NATO, and they showed that they are not okay with it. But what the West did later is, okay, we can't let Ukraine join for now. We're just going to arm it, until the neck, just giving them a lot of weapons. So it's like it's almost like they're members of NATO, because they're going to have so much military equipment. And also in 2021 in March, so exactly 1 year ago, Zelensky said he want to take back Crimea from Russia, which is basically like saying you are at war with them. And just like 2 months ago, he said he want to purchase nuclear weapons, and no one even not Macron, not Joe Biden, no one of them said, well, you are crazy. Because I think deep down inside, they know if he purchased nuclear weapons, it's going to be pointed at Russia, which is something that they want. So maybe that is what I read, and I tend to believe that this is correct. And so again, what the media is trying to tell us is like Ukraine good, Russia is bad, and it's like Putin just want to create a greater Russia, and it's that simple, and there is not like a real reason behind it. But I believe that story that I heard from John Marshmeyer, especially since it's consistent, because Russia has been trying diplomatically to make Ukraine into some kind of a buffer state where they don't join NATO and they're just natural, like Switzerland, and that didn't really work out. So
Mhm.
I think it's consistent, and that's why I think it's true. And also, interestingly, now we heard that Russia announced that they found bio labs that were developing bioweapons in Ukraine. And you may think that's like a complete lie and bullshit, but the next day, Victoria Nuland coming out in Congress, and she's being asked, is there biolabs in Ukraine? She say, yeah, we have biolabs in Ukraine, we are funding them. And she's saying something along the lines, if there is a bioweapon attack, it's the Russians. And it sounds sketchy, sketchy as hell. So obviously both sides are not so good. And if there is really bioweapons, that's like the reason why USA invaded Iraq. That's like weapons of mass destruction. So I guess that's kind of make the invasion legitimate, I guess. Anyway, if we just go right back to the financial part of things, we're seeing all this sanction happening, and we are going to reach the physical limitation of things. Because if there was only like, let's say 4% disruption in oil that is supposed to come to Europe, that would be like something huge. 4% of the entire production of imports of oil in Europe, if they would gone missing, that would be like gigantic. You would see prices skyrocketing.
Yeah, I mean,
but we are talking about
what
like
just happened in
40
nickel,
plus.
Like, for example, what if what just happened in nickel? How many shorts are there in the oil market, and they're getting crushed? What if you have like a short squeeze in oil that brings it up to like $400 a barrel in a day? I mean, I could see that happening and go, oh, it's just fine, but it's just financial. It's not real. And then, well, let's see what happens at the gas station the next day. I mean,
yeah, it's gonna be shortage. We just it's like I have this trip, and I told you before we started to record. I'm seriously concerned I might not have oil to drive if Russia closed the pipes. That's it. I think there will be oil shortages in Europe. Maybe they have strategic reserves, so maybe there would still be for some weeks, but I don't know. Like 40% of the oil in Europe, 40% of the gas, like 40+% of the wheat and grains. That is like, you can't cut that out and expect it will be definitely shortages. And like we said before, so what I think is that this sanction are leveraged against whoever is implying them. So Europeans who are implying sanction against Russia, for every 1 point that they hurt Russia, I think they're hurting themselves like 5 or 10. So the leverage is against them, and we might find the physical limitations of commodities, and maybe then we'll have true price discovery, and who knows where gold and silver is going to go in that case.
I also try not to go into the realm of there's one mastermind to all this plan. It seems like chaos to me. It seems like they're just warring power centers that are all trying to like eke out their own territory, and it's just creating a mess. I don't think there's any single thing behind it. I mean, we can point to Klaus Schwab because like he's got a convenient World Economic Forum that has all this crazy stuff that it's saying, but how much is he really in charge of things? I have no idea. And even
I think he's another warring power. I mean, he's another one, and that's what I think.
Yeah, but I mean, if this does lead to, serious commodity trouble and the quadrupling of prices, like what, if what happened in nickel happens in all other commodities in the next few weeks, and that leads to the overthrow of all these petty European dictators that impose lockdowns on everyone and social distancing and all this nonsense, and they get overthrown, you know what? I'm not gonna mourn about it. Maybe they deserve that. I'm not rooting for any kind of revolution. I'm not that kind of guy. But there's some reckoning that needs to be done over the past 2 years of hell that we've all been through. And I'll let God decide how he's going to do it. But I think all the pieces are in place for all these political leaders to suffer and to have justice be meted out to them. And I'm just watching here from hopefully the safety of my backwater town in Israel that I hope nobody ever goes to or pays attention to.
Yeah, that's exactly my plan. I try to move now to the countryside and have some kind of land where I can grow some things. And because I think the best way to pass this is to have your gold and silver as, wealth protection, and also for, I would rather not use it for barter if I don't have to. So I don't want to stick out. So if I can like grow my own stuff and keep my real wealth for after things settle down, and then convert it to other things. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine what would happen to the Western world if, for example, let's say electricity prices were to quadruple in a day in a short squeeze, and then an internet company couldn't pay its electric bills, and then you had an internet down, and then like Russia cuts some undersea cable, and then you have no internet for a week for the whole world. People are so addicted. Look at us. We're talking on the internet right now. I mean, this is our communication. Communications would be down. It could really lead to some serious panic and riots all over the world if that happened. The connectivity. I mean, these are things that I could see actually happening now, and it's making me nervous. And for that reason, I recommend that everyone have enough food and energy in their homes for at least a few weeks, just to not have to go out and peek your head out and see what's going on. Maybe you want to stay at home and wait for things to calm down. If that eventually things will calm down. I just don't know what happens in the middle, and I try not to think about it, but I keep thinking about it.
Yeah, and also plans that people make may not some how do you say it, like things that we believe may change. So for example, I read this on Twitter and I was shocked. So this guy, I just have it in front of me now. So this guy lives in, let me just see. So he writes like that. A friend of mine just paid $58 to supercharge his Tesla 3 in Alberta. Okay, it's in Alberta. And he filled his Toyota RAV4 and it cost him $66. Almost the same. He says he gets 410 kilometers and I get 700. He took 1 and 30 minutes to charge and I took 3 minutes. So electric cars used to be super cheap to like fill up, their electricity, but electricity cost, like they went ballistic. Electricity is like a few times higher, and fuel cost is maybe 40% higher, 50% higher. So suddenly it becomes that electric cars are going to be more expensive to run than fuel driven cars. So people make plans. They don't even know, like, things can change like that. Didn't take 20 years. It took like 6 months? No, not even that, 3 months. And suddenly electric cars are more expensive. I mean, so yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to ask you something, Rafi,
Yeah.
about this margin call. So I experienced this margin call in one company that I own. It's called Peabody Energy. It's a coal producer. And coal went up from like, I don't know, in 1 week. In 1 week, it went up from like 220 to like 440.
Right.
After it already had a run before. So 6 months ago, it was maybe 140. And it is now at 440. So this company got margin called on their hedge position. And what they did is they went to Goldman Sachs and got a credit line for $150 million. So they can put it against the hedge.
Right.
But now it made me think, like, as long as everything is good, and this company is like minting money right now. Like 3 weeks ago, they made a release that their fourth quarter of 2021, they had $550 million of net income. And the entire company was worth back then like 1.5 billion. So in 1 quarter, they made like a third of their worth. Right. So they're earning a lot of money, but they don't have a lot of money at hand. So as long as everything good and there is like banks, they can go to the bank and get a credit line and everything works nice with this derivative. But what happens in the end game when the banks are going is a company like that, which is basically like a really good company, like earn a lot of money. It's in the right trade. It's in commodities. Commodities are going up and it can go bankrupt. So that made me a little bit scared, like not only for that, for other companies. What do you think about that?
Right. Well, I have two thoughts. First of all, just before we get to the banks, this thing that happened in nickel, I'm trying to I'm just like pushing it through my head and trying to find the logical extensions in different directions of where things could go, what makes sense. And what I've come up with is that, look, if let's say any commodity company that sells a commodity, whatever, fertilizer, coal, I don't care what it is, and they see what happened to nickel, to these nickel mining companies, and they stayed alive too, but they lost a chunk. There's still this Australian nickel stock that's still going down today because of these margin calls. But if other companies that are hedged against their commodity that they produce, they don't want to get caught in these short squeezes. So they're going to start covering their contracts now before there's another short squeeze. But that's going to spread across the whole commodity sector, where producers of the commodity are not going to want to be hedged anymore or as much. And the fact that they're going to be covering their contracts is what's going to bring the commodity price up, because the act of covering shorts is going to mean buying. It's going to mean the commodity goes up. So that itself is going to lead the entire commodity complex higher. If I was a CEO of a coal mining company, I'd say, look, I don't want to hedge coal anymore, or as much. It's too dangerous. Look what can happen to you. But when you're talking about the banks themselves, yeah. So first of all, when any single company is having a margin call on it, like Peabody, they can go to Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs will be glad to give them the money, because they know that they got the cash flows, because the commodity is going crazy. They're going to make so many sales. But if it's happening to every commodity at the same time, and everyone's asking Goldman Sachs for a whole bunch of money, the Fed's going to have to come in. They can get liquidity from the Fed directly, maybe, who knows? But that's a crazy thought. But when it comes to gold and silver, right? The way I understand it, I'm not 100% sure I'm right on this, but I think from what I remember seeing in different COT reports for different commodities, the bulk of the shorts in gold and silver are the banks themselves, whereas the producers are only a small part of the shorts. In other commodities, it's mostly the producers that are short, and secondarily the banks, the market-making banks. So once you get to gold and silver, it's the banks themselves that are going to have the short squeeze, and they're going to have to go to the Fed, and the Fed's going to have to bail them out. And if the Fed does bail them out, then the price of gold and silver is going to, the banks will survive.
So basically,
nominally.
they will give them all this cash, and they're gonna go and buy all the shorts, and they are gonna push the price higher.
He said, yeah, and if they don't, the banks collapse. Either way, the price of gold and silver skyrockets, and either the banks collapse, and the dollar survives, or the banks survive and the dollar collapses. There's no other way out of it. But yeah, gold and silver should be the last two commodities to have this short squeeze, but they will get there. And we should start seeing dominoes fall on other commodities, and then finally it should get to gold and silver, and that should be the end.
Yeah, I think it's time for, if people don't have physical, it's time to get some physical, or even to convert. Like, I'm thinking converting now some paper stuff for the physical stuff, because everything that was going on. This you start to feel like how this third party risk exists, and in the gold and silver, when you have it in your home or when you have it in a vault, like, that's it. You own it, and that's it. There is nothing more.
Yeah, the danger there is the government's going to come after you and just confiscate it. So if that happens, I mean, there's nothing really I can do. I can't stop them.
I think they would go after miner first. It's easier. Like, you can just tax the hell out of them, and I hope, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing is 100% safe right now.
Well, look, at this point, our holiday Purim is coming up, and look, Purim is about a bad guy who basically thought he was in control the whole time, and he seems cool and in control the whole time, and then he didn't realize that the entire time that he thought he was in control, he really wasn't. He was being controlled by a force up above. So that's how I try to look at the situation here. You have these nefarious parties and people who think they can control the whole system, and they think they've got it all figured out, but really they're just being played. We're two sides of the same coin. There's the good guy and there's the bad guy, but really we're just playing a script here, and we choose our sides, and the good side has to move according to its values to try to counter the bad side. But really, it's not really up to us. It's up to a greater power here, and that's how I try to stay calm, because really, what do I know? I'm just trying to do the best I can and trying to be a good person, and maybe I hope that's all that God wants from me, because that's all I can do.
Yeah, no, I tend to have the same outlook on things like you, and we're just gonna have to sit and watch things happen. At least we understand that it's coming. I mean, we're not gonna be hit in the face in surprise. Yeah. So hold on tight. Yeah,
it's getting interesting, and just trying to keep a smile on my face and wait for it to come.
Me too.
All right, Ron, it was good talking to you, and thanks for your insight on Russia and Ukraine, what you understand from what's going on there, and have a happy endgame and a good move, and I will talk to you soon.